This video will guide you through how VisionWorks, our next-generation life planning software, can take your financial planning business to the highest level.
I want to review the optional values exercise, and at the very end, I'll discuss why we refer to it as optional. To be clear, it's available for a financial plan, but not a retirement plan or a retirement and estate plan. Those two are designed to, provide financial forecasts for clients in a fairly efficient manner. So none of the extras like the values exercise, financial attitudes exercise. So to begin, the first thing I'm going to do is just open the values exercise. And I want you to notice that it has the standard PDF questionnaire that we always use. There are 20 values, and clients rank these in order of importance. From 0 to 10, not important to very important. Let me just expand that so you can see that a little more clearly. And in our usual example, what you would do is you would send a questionnaire to each of Bill and Sue. They can attach a different level of importance to the values. And then as normal, what happens is you click the submit button, generate an FDF file, or the client, would click the submit button and generate an FDF file, which they'd return to you. And then you would import their responses back into VisionWorks. So I'll just remind you that when you're dealing with VisionWorks, let me just make a change there, that when you're first starting a plan and you're importing from an FDF file to set up a retirement plan or retirement and assessment plan, for instance, any other importing that you want to do subsequently has to be done from the import-export page. So if we go down there, click the import button, and from questionnaire, then what we're able to do is locate the values exercise. So I'm going to select Bill's, import it, and then notice I have to select the party so VisionWorks knows where to put the data from the questionnaire. So I'm going to select Bill, import his data. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a second import, select Sue's file, and then with Sue selected, we'll import her responses to the questionnaire. And then when we go to the values page, what you'll see is that we have Bill's responses, Sue's responses, and then for a couple, what we actually do is calculate the aggregate values, and they're just a simple average of the two individual values. So we want to address the question, why even bother with an exercise on clients' values? So the first answer is that it's a soft start to the planning process, and it conveys to clients that planning is about them, what's important to them, not their money. And you'll remember everything that Paul Armstrong has talked about. His basic message is 3 hats: life planner, financial advisor. And by starting with a thorough conversation about clients' history, how did they get to where they are today, where is it they want to go in the future, their wants in life, that puts the focus of attention on the client and conveys to the client that, you're really interested in helping them, get everything figured out and, get on the right path to having the life that they really want to live. So what we did though, and this goes back a very long time, is before helping clients create their vision of life, we actually have this values exercise. And the reason is that it's a very simple way to get clients involved in the planning process and to convey to them that you want to understand them and you're genuinely trying to help them. And I want to just jump to what we call the relationship equation. And this is something that we'll be covering in next week's email. We won't be doing a live webinar. It's really just an email that explains the concept of the relationship equation. And what it basically says is that relationship is U plus D plus E divided by S. U means understanding, your client's perception that you understand the client. D is dependability. You do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. E is expertise, you're well qualified. But S is the client's perception of your self-orientation. So what I'm going to do is just scroll down to the end of this document, which, by the way, you can find on the website in the values area. And we'll run through the math. So let's just say your client says, you're really doing your best to understand me. I'm going to score you an 8 out of 10. You're very dependable. I'm going to score you an 8 out of 10. You have excellent credentials. I'll score you an 8 out of 10. So 8 plus 8 plus 8 is 24. But if the client's perception is that you're only doing the planning work to uncover needs to sell products and you're really not genuinely trying to help them achieve the life they want, then the client's view is this is really just a sales aid, if you will. This is really about you. You, the advisor, have high self-orientation. They score you an 8 out of 10, and as a result, the relationship score is 3. But on the other hand, if the understanding, dependability, and expertise are still a total of 24, and the client's perception is you're genuinely trying to help me, you're putting my interests ahead of yours, you, the advisor, your self-orientation is low, I'm only going to score that a 2 out of 10 because it's really all about me, then the relationship score is 12. And this is really important to understand because it clearly shows that the critical ingredient is the client's perception of your self-orientation. So even if you're more dependable, 10 out of 10, even if your expertise is 10 out of 10, even if your understanding is 10 out of 10, then you would still have 30 divided by 8, which is still an extremely low score, 3.5 or something. So the really critical ingredient then is the client's perception of your self-orientation. And that's the reason that we talk about trying to convey to clients that you're doing your best to understand them and to really help them achieve the life that they want. So the second reason that we talk about understanding clients' values is that it helps you better understand their wants. So if we go to VisionWorks and we look at entries, let's just assume for a moment that your client talks about spending a lot of money on vacations. Their values are, for example, enjoyment, activity, and adventure. And their whole approach to life is that if they can really enjoy themselves, have a great life, do all sorts of exciting things while they're young and healthy, that suits them fine, and that they'll be perfectly content to have a modest lifestyle when they're older. They won't be saving as much because they'll be, enjoying vacations. So that's their take on life. So if you get into a conversation and you see them wanting to spend a whole lot on vacations, it's very tempting as financial advisors to, question, aren't you maybe going a little overboard on this because we're not able to save as much in your RSP or TFSA as, we otherwise could? Shouldn't we be cutting back? But if you understand clients' values, enjoyment, activity, adventure being, important to them, then you better understand what motivates their wants in life. And then there's a third reason for this. And if we go to the solutions area and go to tactics, what you'll see on the joint tab is the values tab. And if we select it, what you'll see is a list of clients' wants ranked in order of importance based on their values. And if there's a financial shortfall, then what you're able to do is look at the bottom of the list where you'll find the least important wants, identify the most expensive of the least important wants, and then you're able just to double click on an entry and go in and make some adjustments to it. And when you make those adjustments, let's adjust the special vacation. I'm just going to eliminate it altogether. Then what you'll see is you'll see the difference it makes on the financial forecast. Now, in this case, it was just one expense for $10,000. So it's not a great deal of difference. But you can see that you can immediately have this conversation with people where you can go in and start talking about, some changes that will skate their financial forecast more on side. So I want to go back. So that gives you sort of the overall reason that we have a look at this. But I want to go back to the values page and just talk about a few things. The first thing is that you can change the values, and you can change and add a definition for a new value, or you can change the definition of an existing value. So you may have clients that say, well, I wouldn't really, express the importance of family that way. I would rather define it some other way. So you're able to tailor all of that so that it suits the client. The one thing that you can't change, or in changing these values, it will not change the printed PDF questionnaire that's already, prefixed. So if in talking with clients about values, they say, well, I would rather, express it a different way, then you do have the ability to go in and make that change and keep them happy. I also want to just talk about why we use 20 values. If you do a webinar or web search, what you'll find is that 55 values roughly are commonly identified. And what we did was we went through the list and we selected 20 of them that we thought were really related to life planning. We also worked with a woman whose whole expertise, by the way, is in the area of values. And there were some values where definitions were extremely subtle. And so we combined a couple of values and combined their definitions. But we left out values such as world peace. We just didn't feel that they were really appropriate to what we're trying to achieve with financial planning. The other thing I want to mention, because I find this is fairly common, is that there is a difference between principles, virtues, and values, and they're often confused. So an example of principles that's commonly cited is the Declaration of Independence: all men are created equal. That's definitely a principle. But the greater confusion tends to be between virtues and values. So for example, honesty is a virtue, not a value. And it's important to understand this distinction because we can have opinions about people's virtues. I don't want to associate with people who are dishonest, but we really can't have opinions about people's values. So going back to our vacation example, if clients want to spend a lot of money on vacations when they're young and healthy, and they'll be content with a modest retirement lifestyle, that's their choice. That's the way they want to live life. So I want to sum up. If we understand clients' values, we'll better understand what motivates their wants. We can use the values results on the tactics tab to look at values-based trade-offs if we see that there's a financial shortfall. But most important of all is actually our ability to enhance our relationship with people. So let's just go back again to that relationship equation and just remember that the relationship equation is based on understanding, dependability, expertise, divided by the client's perception of your self-orientation. So anything that we can do to help clients see us as genuinely trying to help them will immediately significantly deepen our relationship with them. And then there's just one final note I want to make. At the very beginning, I referred to this as the optional values exercise. So the reality, of course, is that some clients will resist completing the values exercise. They might think an exercise on values is what I'll call too touchy-feely. They just want to get to the numbers. If that's what they prefer to do, great. really the choice to complete the values exercise is up to clients. So that's why we refer to it as optional. No need to push the point with people. If they want to participate in it, great. Helps us a lot, conveys that we're really trying to help them. But, some people just want to stay focused on the numbers. So thanks again for your time today. Those are the things we wanted to cover on the values exercise.
Book a demo. We'd be happy to show you more of VisionWorks' incredible features.